with c plus 45 equals 50. So the first thing you need to do is isolate the variable. How do you do that? You subtract 45 from both sides. This leaves the c alone because 45 minus 45 is 0. And then you get 5 because 50 minus 45 is 5. So c equals 5. Another problem example would be 78 plus b equals 108. You need to find b, so you would isolate the variable, subtract 78 from both sides, and then you would get b equals 108 minus 78, which is 30. So that is the answer, 30. Now that was the addition problems, even though you'd be subtracting both sides. Now we're going to be doing the opposite, which is the subtraction problems. So for this subtraction problem, you'd be doing c minus 8 equals 12. See, the thing is, minus 8, that's really just a negative 8. You'd need to isolate the variable first by doing the opposite of negative 8, which is positive 8. So add 8 to both sides. Then you would get c, because negative 8 and positive 8 equals out. And then 18 plus 8 equals 20. No, it doesn't. You'd get 26. C equals 26. Another example of a subtraction problem would be 8 negative 14 equals negative 16. Now this might be a little tricky because again, it's a negative 14, but you just do the opposite and add 14 to both sides, which then isolates the variable and leaves you with this, negative 16 plus 14, which equals, let me just scoot this forward, negative 2. Now let's move to the multiplication problems. So an example of this would be 5h equals 35. Now I'm sure you know your multiples of 5 by now, and know that 5 can go into 35 7 times, so keep that in mind. So 5h is the same as 5 times h. So what you do is divide both sides by 5. This is 5 over 5, so that's the same as dividing, and you would get h. And then 35 divided by 5 is 7. So there, 5 can go into 35 7 times. And that's our answer. Good job. Another example of this is 8h equals 96. Excuse my bad handwriting. First, you would divide both sides by 8. Okay, 8 divided by 8 is 1. So isolate the variable h equals 96 divided by 8. And that is 13. Took me a minute there, I had to look at my notes. And that's the answer. Good for you. Now these fraction and division problems tend to really mess people up, but once you get the hang of it, it's pretty easy. So, one example is 1 over 2 g equals 4. How many times can 1/2 go into 4? Well, what you'd have to do is the opposite of division, 1 over 2, and you would do the opposite, 2 over 1. And as you know, 2 over 1 is the same as 2, so times 2. This right here, it equals each other out, so you can just put g equals, what's 4 times 2? Or 4 times 2 over 1, it's 8. So g equals 8. Another example of this problem is 1 over 4 j equals 12. So you would do 1 over 4 times 4 over 1 equals each other out. 12 times 4 over 1. 12 times 4 is 36. Thought it was 32 for a second. So j equals 36. And that about concludes it. Now, I will say you can follow my social medias. I did in fact make a practice worksheet for any teachers or students to practice with. It's in the description and it's free to download. So if you want to see that, go ahead. My social media is also in the description if you want to follow me. I don't usually talk about math there, but go ahead. And see you later.